Hi, it's Jenny. It's book review and film review time. I'm going to talk about the book Still Alice and the film Still Alice. So yeah, first I want to talk about the book Still Alice by Lisa Genova. It's this book. I read it in Swedish because I had it in my bookshelf. I love this cover, actually, by the way. This book is, as many already know, about a woman in her 50s. Her name is Alice Howland. She's a professor at Harvard University, and she's a professor in something that has to do with linguistics and psychology and stuff like that. This book is written from her perspective. You know what she thinks, what she says, what she thinks of others, and yeah. The thing is, Alice, as I said, works as a university professor, and she starts to forget words that she should know. She sort of finds herself disoriented. She's out running at some point, and in the beginning of the book, and all of a sudden it's a route that she's always run. She's always done her running on, so to speak, and all of a sudden she can't remember how to get from point A to point B, or rather from the point where she's standing to her home, that is 2 blocks away. She starts to get a bit worried about these forgetting words and disorientations, and so she contacts and goes to her doctor, who sends her off to a neurologist, if I'm not entirely forgetting the words. The plots are, so to speak, and it is that neurologist, that is, says or comes to the conclusion that Alice has Alzheimer's disease, or early onset. That is, she's very young. She's only turning 50 in this book. She's very young to get Alzheimer's disease, it could be hereditary, or rather, she could have got it from one of her parents, and her children, each of the children are at 50% chance of getting this gene and this Alzheimer's from her. So yeah, that is the premise of the book, and you get to follow Alice as during little over a year. By the way, this takes place in Boston, in the US, and there's also talk about New York and LA in it. I just want to mention this because this has importance when I talk about the film in a couple of minutes, seconds, I don't know, later on in this video. So yeah, you get to follow Alice from the point that she starts to wonder what's wrong with her, until the point where you get to follow her through the progression of her disease. But, and that is a very big but, it doesn't end with the catastrophe of Alice being a vegetable and not knowing what is what, and she's still somewhat conscious and aware of stuff at the end. Then, let's see, my thoughts on this. This is my absolute new super favorite book. I absolutely love this book. The only complaints I have about it has to do with the Swedish translation. It's a bit weird at some points, but that doesn't take away from the story. And that don't affect the people who read the original in English, I might add. Sorry if the angle and stuff like that has changed. My phone rang in the middle of recording this video. So this book, Still Alice, is a book that affects the reader extremely much when you read it. It's emotionally affecting the reader. It's a book that hurts when you read it, or at least it hurt me when I read it. I mean, in a way that it hurts when you read it, because you are so affected by the terrible disease that Alice is going through, and that is taking parts of Alice from her and her family and so on and so forth. And at some points I had to close the book and let it rest, because it was so... I read some pages and then I had to close it and leave it for a while, because for some minutes, just to gather myself, gather my thoughts, and sort of, it was so emotionally affecting, this book. I absolutely love it and recommend it to everyone that wants to read a touching story about this woman. It is, as I have understood it, not a real story or true story, but still it's a story that can be true. You start to think about your near and dear family, and what would you do if you were affected by this disease? What would you do if your mother was affected by this disease? What would you do if another relative was affected by this disease? And how would you react in these situations? And the situations that Alice is confronted with. It's so touching. I can't praise it enough. It's a brilliant book. Read it, read it. It's a short one as well. So pick it up. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. That's all I can say. Then I gave it, by the way, 5 stars. I wanted to give it 10 out of 5 if I could. So yeah. Then on to the film. The film was not as good as the book, as it usually is, but the film is still very good. Julianne Moore is playing Alice in it, as most of you know, because she got an Oscar for it. And it bases a lot on this. It's based a lot on this book, Still Alice. But there are a couple of things that have changed and that I think are a bit strange, actually, because in the film the setting or the city that they live in is New York instead of Boston. That is the thing in the book. The family members are the same, but in the book Alice has a oh crap, I can't remember the name of that. She has a student that is writing his dissertation. She's she's helping him, she's guiding him to do this. I don't remember the word for this. That's what happening. blah blah blah, having trouble speaking today apparently. That is what happens in the book. In the film they have taken out that character named Dan in the book. He's not at all shown in the film. I think it would have been too many characters to keep track of in the film, but it's okay in the book. In the film, there is sorry, there is some Swedish word popping up out of my mouth. The film is following the book as much as it can, almost, or no, that's wrong. The film is following some parts of the book, and some parts they have stricken out because the film would have been a million years long, I would guess. But a comment I do have about that, the film is about 1 hour and 45 minutes. It actually could have been longer because I had read the book before I saw the film. I do think that people who haven't read the book and sees the film could think that it's rather quick cuts between the scenes. There's not a lot of explanations as to why this is happening and where they are and stuff like that. So I would actually have a complaint that the film was too short for once. Nowadays the normal length of a film is 2 hours something, and this was shorter than 2 hours. It wouldn't have been wrong to make this film a bit longer. Anyhow, the film was, as I said, very good. There are some scenes that I feel could have been a bit better or more explanatory, or rather more giving the sense of how Alice feels and how the disease affects her, that are described in the book, but they have sort of, in the film, for example, there is the scene about the bread pudding. If you've read the book or seen the film, or rather, if you read the book, you do understand exactly what I mean. In that, you get the frustration that Alice feels because she forgot the recipe that she learned from her mother of doing a bread pudding for Christmas. She can't remember the amount of eggs, the amount of whipped cream, and the rest of the ingredients. So in the book she smashes the eggs in the sink, but in the film she only gets frustrated, and instead, yeah, it sort of could have been explained as everyone forgets it, that's not a big deal. Because you don't get the frustration from her that you get in the book. So yeah, the differences are, it's in New York, you miss some scenes, and some scenes have been changed, I mean. The big thing is, or that I thought of, was that in the book Alice has 3 children. Anna, Tom, or Thomas, and Lydia. Lydia, by the way, is played by Kirsten Stewart. Anna by Kate Bosworth. Tom, I can't remember actually. It's an actor that I haven't encountered before. But in the book, Anna is very understanding of Alice, and she defends her against her father and so on. But in the film, Anna is more of she sort of, well, I do understand you, Dad, because she can be a liability, rather, sort of. So that character has been changed a bit. Lydia, on the other hand, had also been changed a bit, and that was to the other side, because Lydia was a bit reserved in the beginning when Alice told her about the disease and so on and so forth, and then she, in the book, and then she comes to terms with it and loves her Alice and loves her mother, rather, and so on and so forth, and really want to help out. That is the same, or even more so, in the film. So that was interesting. What else can I say? Yeah, I love the book, like the film, so I would say the film gets 3.5, 4 stars. The book 5 stars and more if you want to. I think that's all I would say about this. So I recommend both. See the film, read the book, in what order you want to. They're great, both of them. So yeah, that was it. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!